Welcome to our training plan struggles into strengths or planning struggles into strengths. The whole idea is we all know that as dog owners, we can make elaborate plans, but then sometimes those plans either just sit or they fizzle out after we have some part that falls apart or something changes in our life temporarily, whether it be a health issue that sets in or any wide variety of personal issues. There are a lot of reasons that plating trans stall. So today we're going to kind of look at what some of those reasons are, some of the more popular reasons, and how we can prevent that from actually stalling us and creating a training plan that we will actually stick to. Thought that's kind of perfect for the New Year's because so many people do New Year's resolutions. I've never been one to do a lot of them, but everyone kind of takes stock and reevaluates and what did you accomplish last year and what do you want to accomplish this year? And that can lead to really lofty plans. So, with that, just take a moment to type in the comments. One thing, if you've noticed one thing that stalls your training plans the most, that prevents you from finishing the plan, just note that in the comments quickly. So it could be anything as simple as you get overwhelmed or health or, make it as detailed or as simple as you want. Health is a common one, especially with our service dog people that are joining us. And sometimes we have our health that comes and goes, and then we have our health issues that we live with on a regular basis, like the ADHD that is never going to completely go away, but can definitely stall us.
Yeah.
Yeah, fatigue is a big one for me. And getting stuck in the cycle of I've learned to cope from sitting on the couch when I have to sit on the couch and can't move, which means even on some days when I can move, my body defaults to wanting to sit on the couch and not move because I've learned to cope by doing that. So we all have those little things too. And I'm sure we'll get a few more answers coming in. So let's kind of review. We're going to review the top um, 10 reasons why training plans fail and how we can change those to move on so that it's not going to fail. So our first top five are definitely our most common. Um, the information overload applies in multiple different ways. First of all, from the idea that, like, if you haven't found a trainer that you resonate with or that you're working with yet, and you're searching YouTube, Facebook, you name the place to search, if you're searching for information on any specific topic in the dog training world, you're going to find 101 ways to solve that problem. And most of them are going to be somewhat conflicting with another person's method. So, trying to find what's going to work for you and your dog can be really challenging. But then also look at the fact that, you've picked that trainer that you align with, and they have so much information out there. And is that information, do they have so much information that you just don't know where to start? So that's a really big one as well. So even when you've found the right group, sometimes finding the information within that group can be problematic. So one of the reframes that I like to do with that is to think, all right, you don't need to know everything about the problem you're trying to change or the behavior you're trying to change. You just need to have a starting point. And, to be able to highlight, all right, this is where I am now, and how can we just get started, even if you're not looking at the end goal. So that's one of the big things we're going to look at in our 7-day plan that we're looking through is getting started. Another huge one is a lack of clear goals, and that can go along with having too many goals. especially if you're a service dog handler, looking at the big picture of, what happens 2 years after you started training. And that can quickly overwhelm us with overload, but also give us unclear goals of what we should be working on right now at this stage in the game. And we all know there isn't one timeline that works for everybody. So you can't just follow a timeline and say, oh, well, I did this last, so I do this next. Well, we've done this, so this is our next step. Because it doesn't work that way when it comes to training a service dog. And not really for a pet dog either, because um, everybody has different experiences and different expectations and different levels that they want to push a specific training to. So that is a huge one. So we can reframe that by reframing the goal of, looking at the goal we want to work on this week versus the goal that we want to work on long term. That can help us reframe those goals. So we'll be looking at that one heavily too. Unrealistic expectations, we're only going to touch on a little bit in today's workshop, but we are going to have some tips and tricks for reframing that into keeping in mind that our dogs learn in layers, not leaps. So we need to move slowly over time to get to our end goal. Smooth is fast, not rushing to the end goal right away. So that's where our realistic expectations come in versus our unrealistic expectations. Inconsistent routines is another huge one, because while there is some value in finding, like, if you know your dog works better at training in the morning or in the evening or a time of day that works better for your dog, we can get stuck in training in that particular time frame because it's better for our dog, but it's not always necessarily better for us, the humans. And while if I have to choose between better for my dog or better for me, I'm going to choose better for my dog. Azul is a good example of that. His prime training time, if we want to work on something, is somewhere between 3 to 5 p.m. every day. That's when he's most food motivated, and that's when he wants to do it. So I know that if I really want to engage Azul, I'm going to do it in between that time frame. What that means is that he's not getting engaged in a training situation every single day, because some days I have other things I have to do between 3 to 5 p.m. And if I miss his window for that day, I miss his window and we're just not doing it that day. We might still be able to do some fun enrichment type training, but I'm not going to be able to count on him to be food motivated and want any kind of food reinforcement if I missed that window of opportunity. So, routines really do play a role. We're going to focus more on reframing that into mini micro lessons for the day into real life versus long term. We're going to do an hour training routine at this time of day every day. So, reframing that into the idea of looking at those micro bursts of training throughout the day can really help. And we all know that canine emotions can really lead into it. If our dog is stressed, they're not going to learn. If our dog is feeling overwhelmed, like we can, because we're throwing too many different things that we're training our dog at once, they're not going to learn as quickly. And if they're going through that crazy adolescent period where their emotions are naturally all over the road, that's going to throw in some hiccups too. So we'll look at that a little bit. And then just our, whoops, I think I skipped one. Just our other 5 for quick review. These are in the ebook and the reframing tips are available, but we're not going to run through all of them. Choosing the wrong environment is a big reason that we fail. We go too fast into a harder environment. I know a big thing is go train your service dog in training outside of the dog park so they can get used to practicing around other dogs. But if your dog has never been around other dogs and you jump to the dog park, you're going to quickly overwhelm them because now there's too much chaos and too much going on. So picking that environment, while there is merit to that, and at some point in time, I'm hoping my dog is at the level where we can go train outside the environment of a dog park. We don't want to jump there. So choosing the right environment will definitely help. Um, Lack of feedback and support. I kind of alluded to this if you've aligned yourself with a trainer or even a good friend that you respect their opinions when it comes to training. That's great. If you're not getting feedback and support from somebody else, whoever that be, whether it be our group like Crazy to Calm, whether that be a Facebook group where you're getting support, whether that's a trainer you're working one-on-one with, if you're not getting some kind of feedback or support to know if you're making progress or to remind you that you are making progress, that's a really big common reason that training plans fail. So we all think I've been training all my dogs all my life. I know what I'm doing, but every now and then we still get stuck, which Cindy can attest to because I've gotten stuck with even Belle, and she's helped with that, and Azul especially. And same with Cindy as a trainer has gotten stuck with Nick, and I've been able to help. And we all need that support. So having somebody you trust that you can call on can be a big win. Um, Using the wrong reinforcement is huge. Again, that one we're not going to go into because that's a big layer topic, and we have other workshops and resources on that available through UperPaws and Crazy to Calm Canine Coaches. Fatigue and stress is a huge one, and we will touch on that one a little bit because I know we have a lot of service dog people that will be working on this, and that is huge for them. And then the last one is because we make it work. And not just for the dog, like you guys all know, I'm a games-based trainer and my goal is to make it fun for the dog. But if in my head I have that I have to spend an hour training something. We have to advance this skill. We have to. When we put it in that mind frame, we start to look at it as a job that has to be completed, and then we're less likely to actually carve out time to do it. But if we reframe that, I have to get this done, I need to do this for my dog. Sometimes we do need that push and to think that I need to do it because I haven't done a while, especially me, a procrastinator. Sometimes I need that. But if I live in that, it's a work, it's a job mind frame all the time, then that can really stall us. So reframing it into we're going to have fun together in this session. It's not a job, it's something we're going to enjoy, both of us together. Go ahead, Cindy.
I just wanted to say in that reframing of it's work, not fun. Sometimes that means that you have to stop what you're asking your dog to do and reframe how you're asking your dog to do it. And so that you take it out of that work mode. I ran into this yesterday asking Nick to do something he knows how to do. He knows everything, but there's two things that were stopping him from wanting to do the behavior. It was a new item that I think may not taste very well, and it was in a room he does not like to do, that he associates with bad things because it's the bathroom where he takes a shower and he doesn't like taking a shower. He'll do it, but he doesn't like it. And so I backed off that container is coming out into another room, and we're going to work on retrieving that container in another room. And so sometimes you need to look at that. Why is there a problem? Why is the dog reacting this way? And why is it becoming work instead of a game?
Totally. That ties into the emotional aspect as well. So, that's a good one. We will look at that one a little bit too. So we're going to take a moment to reflect, and this is a place to put your answer in the comments if you haven't already. And it says, what impacts you and your team the most when it comes to why those training plans fall apart? So if I've said anything that really resonates with you, go ahead and just type it in the comments. Maybe there's the top three. These are the top reasons why my training fails. I can tell you for me, it's a big one is looking at that it's work and not play. I have to do it. But also because I do so much with training other dogs that like my dogs tend to fall in somebody else's training plan, not necessarily my training plan for them. Unless I keep it fun for me. But fatigue and routine are also my big ones. I don't struggle so much with overwhelm, but sometimes I get overwhelmed in like how busy my calendar is in general, and that may stall me as well. So overwhelm does hit. It just hits me a little bit differently than typical. All right, so just looking at a couple of the comments. Transportation can also be huge, especially if your training plan involves being out in a public space or getting to a training class. Yep, transportation can be a hindrance there. Reinforcement choices. Yeah, that's a huge one too. And we're gonna look at that a little bit today, but not much. Reinforcement being that so much of us get stuck on food and our dogs don't always want food. And sometimes that's an indicator that we're doing something else wrong if they don't want food. But some dogs just are not as food motivated as others. So finding other ways to reinforce. And some people simply don't want to carry treats around with them for the rest of their life. So they want to find ways of using other types of reinforcement. Um, yep, health, pain, fatigue, those are all really popular with me. They're ones that I can definitely resonate with. So we did some of the reframing as we walked through it. Um, what I want to point out most is that struggles are normal. And what works to solve my struggles, we can look at the simple thing of fatigue, right? We all struggle with fatigue at some point. I don't care who you are as a person. We all have moments of fatigue of varying levels that may hinder us from doing what we wanted to accomplish that day. So if we just look at the struggle of fatigue, what works for me to get me out of that issue may not work for other people. Fatigue being one of the things that is impacted by my autoimmune, it also is greatly impacted by my procrastination um, due to issues, my health issues. So I have that fine line of, is my fatigue in a state where I really need to rest? Or is it in a state where I have rested, but I can't get the ball rolling again? And so that's a huge one for me and something that I battle. So I have to reframe it in my head of, am I in rest and recovery mode or am I in stalled mode? Because when I'm in rest and recovery mode, I can force myself to get up and do something. But that makes rest and recovery mode take longer. So I need to give myself the grace to just rest. However, when I'm in stalled mode, because I am rested and recovered, but now I need to get back into the swing of going out on adventures. That's a huge one that hits me every spring because adventures are limited in the winter due to our depth of snow that we get. But so getting back out on adventures is something that I'm more likely to procrastinate with. So then I have to force myself to push past it and just get out. Because once I get out the door, I'm fine and I feel better afterwards. But just getting out the door is a huge step for me when fatigue is working with me. So we have to kind of look at what is going to help us with that, whatever is stalling us. And what works for me may not work for you. So that's where that bigger community comes into play, like our Working Paws community. If you're getting stalled or stuck or don't know where to get started, that's the perfect place to post your questions because then you'll get multiple people saying, well, when that happens to me, I do this. When that happens to me, I do that. And hopefully one of them will be something that works for you because it's not a one size fits all. So a big one is overwhelm, and we want to kind of just look at that. And we're going to go through this section of slides really, really fast. I have printouts for all of these so that you can, you know, if you want a copy of the slides so that you don't have to take these notes, or if you want reminders to print out, that's possible. But so we're going to run through them really, really fast because we've talked about them. But so the reframing for being overwhelmed is you just need a simple starting point. You don't need to know how you're going to tackle the big problem. You just need a simple starting point. Um, With clear goals, it's going to be, and I know if you're part of our MAPS, which most of the people here now are MAPS Mondays, we know how to take a big picture goal and break it down into multiple steps. And that's going to give us what we're working on this week. So setting that clear goal of what we're working toward and then breaking it down into manageable steps. This is the one that I think we don't do often enough, right? We don't support ourselves enough when it comes to this. We don't seek a community to help. When we had a plan to say, go out to the farmer's market on this day, and then it's a rainy day or our health is really in the crapper that day and we can't do it that day, then we beat ourselves up over it, especially for our service dog handlers. Like we feel like we are failing our dogs so much of the time because we couldn't do what we had in our plan to do that day. So being flexible and adjusting the plan always happens. Like no plan, when we write out a training plan, no plan is perfect the day we write it out. Even if we've spent a full long week writing that plan out, it's not perfect. And some we have to be flexible. And there are some things that we're like, all right, we absolutely cannot be flexible on this. We can't move to step 3 if we haven't gotten started on step 1, right? That's one place where we can't be flexible. We can't jump to the end goal, bigger picture, and work on something that we think is going to be more fun if we haven't done the early stages of that first at home. So some things we cannot be flexible on, but other things we can be flexible on. If we plan to go out on Tuesday and maybe our transportation failed on Tuesday, so it just didn't work, and we decide, all right, what the other day this week can we go out? Do we blah, do we need recovery time? Do we need to plan on just working on other things at home during the week and go out next week? That kind of thing. So adjusting that plan is normal, and we need to give ourselves grace to do that. And that's where that community support really comes in handy, because the community will remind us of that. When you say, I feel like I'm failing my dog, the community you've built around you should then say, you are not failing your dog. Look at all of these great things you're doing. These are the things that let's figure out a way that we can help you feel better about what you're doing with your dog. And if you don't have that kind of community, if you're in the more judgy communities that are, more willing to attack you, oh, I can't believe you didn't make the time. You set it in your plan and then you bailed and now your dog's going to fail. If you're in that type of community, leave it right now. Search for a community of people that are going to support you. And that community might be on social media. That community might be a cousin that you feel comfortable with or a good friend. And I mean, we know that a lot of my really good friends I met in the service dog community years ago, but they were people that just connected with me. And whether we do any kind of training or not together anymore, I know that if I'm feeling stuck, even I can message any one of those friends, not even about my dog. I can message one of those friends to say, hey, I smiled today because of this. Why did you smile today? And a conversation will start. And by the end of the conversation, I'm feeling better. And then I can, even if we never talked to dog, because you reached out to a friend that lifted your spirits in a positive note, you can then reframe your dog training struggles more positively. So training does get easier when we know what we're looking for. I need my thing to go away here. There we go. So clear goals is huge. There we go. Now it went away. And that is something our 7-day plan is going to really look into. So we'll spend a little bit more time there. We're back to rushing through a few of these. Avoid rushed, unrealistic expectations. If you're working with a 4-month-old puppy, don't expect them to have a downstay of an adult dog, right? don't rush through too fast. If you're working with an adolescent that has all the emotional turmoil going on, coming and going and coming and going, and you're working on the same thing for 6 months, that's okay. Don't get frustrated in working on it for 6 months. Take breaks when you need to and go back to it when you need to because adolescence is hard. So avoid feeling rushed. And a big part of the rushed one is when you're comparing yourself to somebody else because all dogs are different. When you start comparing, it tends to make us feel more rushed. But so we want to create a training routine that fits you and your dog, but so one that fits into your day to day, one that doesn't feel like a chore. And so those small mini daily sessions that build toward your long term goals are much more valuable than longer, exhausting sessions. A good example of that is door manners. We all want our dogs trained to be calm around the door, whether it's sit and wait for permission to go out, whether it's, I mean, for me, right now, this time of year, it takes me a good 5 minutes to get out the door. If my dogs were jumping on me, jumping on the door, barking, spinning in circles, acting crazy while I was trying to do that, it would probably take me 15 minutes to get all my gear on to go outside. So I need them to stand calmly at the door waiting. And that's something that we've built over time is learning how to do that. And so we have a door to get through and then we have a gate to get through. And once they get through the gate, they can burst out of that gate and run and do their thing and get their energy out. Until we hit that point, they're not allowed to do it. And they know that if they go on leash before that gate opens, that they're not busting out of the gate, that leash manners apply. But if they go out at that gate, either on their tie out or off leash, they know they can run and have at it. So setting up that routine that works for you, those little daily habits. If you want your dog to lay calmly at your feet, what time of day are you sitting still enough to practice that training session? If you want your dog to walk in a loose heel in a close proximity to you, what time in your day can you practice that? And that might be as simple as moving from the living room to the bathroom. Can they walk in heel for that, 10 seconds of your day? That might be, can they heel when you go out to the treat counter to get their daily vitamins or probiotics or whatever? Can they wait calmly on a mat while you're preparing their meal to sit down for them? Whatever it is, but building those mini little sessions into your day will make for a much happier dog and allow you to accomplish more training than what you think you're accomplishing.
Penny, can I
Yes.
can I just say that if you're doing service dog training and you are starting task training, once you get to the point where the task is shaped and it may not be perfect, but this is where when you would need that task, whether you actually need it, but when you could use that task to save brain power, energy, what have you, use that task as the request for that task as a training session to reinforce that this is when this task is going to apply. And if you continually do that, whether you actually, need the
Whether
task.
you need it that day or not, use it because it
Exactly.
will reinforce your dog's desire to do that task.
Yes.
And it'll help you long term too with overload. But yes, that's a huge one for the service dog world because sometimes it's just quicker and easier for us to grab the item we dropped ourselves when we have a new dog that's learning how to retrieve dropped items. But the more we take the time to actually ask them to do it, even if we could do it ourselves in that moment, we save our energy for later for other things. But it allows a quick win for them to get reinforcement for doing the task without repeating it over and over and over again like we would in a training session. So building those into your day can really help. So we want to make sure that we're also setting the dog up to be emotionally ready for whatever training we're doing. We all know that a stressed out dog isn't going to learn. So if my dog had a stressful day, or if we tackled something stressful, like I have a group just starting public access training right now, on those days that they're going out in public with our group, they really shouldn't be training any new behaviors at home. They might be also working on some continual practice in those short daily things like practicing some door manners at home or some laying on a mat at home, but they shouldn't be teaching anything new on the day that something stressful like a public access outing happened because the dog is not in the right mental mind frame to learn. So save those starting something new or doing something that your dog finds really hard for days when your dog is as calm as they normally are, when they're feeling refreshed, relaxed, and comfortable. And those are the days you want to take on the bigger challenges. Like Cindy had mentioned something earlier about training in the bathroom. And I had that actual same instance with Belle. Some of my dogs have been Velcro and followed me in the bathroom. Azul is not like that just because he's not Velcro all the time. Belle is pretty Velcro, but she would not follow me into the bathroom. She'd stand just outside of the door because, yes, that's where baths happen or showers. But so lots and lots and lots of times I sit my cell phone down in the bathroom and then forget it there. By the time I've washed and dried my hands, I walk out without it. So teaching her to go into the bathroom and grab that phone and bring it to me was huge. But I found the only way that I could get her to want to go into the bathroom to do that was if I stood outside of the bathroom. If I joined her in the bathroom, she was too stressed and wouldn't search. But if I stayed outside of the bathroom and just sat her in, then she could do her search of the bathroom for the thing she was looking for and find it. So, kind of finding those ways of setting your dog up. And again, I wouldn't have done that bathroom training on a day when she was already stressed or already thinking it might be bath day. If I had done some earlier things like gotten a towel, maybe I was getting myself ready for a shower, right? I wouldn't have done it on those days because she wasn't emotionally ready for that kind of stressful training. So set your dog up to be emotionally ready for whatever training you're going to do before you do it. Calm brains learn. Human and canine are the same in that picture. So if you're stressed, don't try to do a new training session on something you haven't worked on previously. Environments are huge for me, and I preach on choosing the right environment all the time. And if you're in the UPerPause Patreon, you will see that probably at least once every other month goes out a post on environments because it's huge and it's something that we tend to do badly if we haven't put thought into what is our next training environment. So that's a huge one for me. I have all kinds of resources on that. Um, Reinforcement is huge too, and we touched on that one already. Motivation isn't a personality trait, it's a training tool. So, what is it going to take to get our dog excited to do the training we want to do? Which might be toys, might be food, might be the thrill of being able to go outside on a sniff about, right? There are lots of different things that we can use as reinforcement. So that one is huge. We do also have a reinforcement workshop available in both Crazy to Calm and UPerPause workshops or UPerPause Patreon. So if you need more information about learning other types of reinforcement, making reinforcement work for you, check out that workshop. Battling fatigue, health issues, and timing troubles. Because timing is also that time of day when you have a dog like Azul that it only works between 3 and 5 p.m., that can be huge. So finding the way to fit that into your life so that it doesn't become a struggle and doesn't stall your training plan is huge. And it's not a one size fits all. But the small moments really do make more of an impact than we sometimes realize we're doing. Those small mini sessions, like asking for that task to be done because this is the time of day the task needs to be done. Um, it's true for, a reminder to take meds. It's true for dropped item retrieves. A lot of things that we do happen at a certain time of day every day. And so building that into a routine for that time of day where that's just something we do every day is a great way to make training advance much faster than if we did a formal training session on that goal every day. Yes, make training feel like a game. All training should be fun. If it feels like play, you want to keep doing it. If you're enjoying it, you want to keep doing it. If it's hard and you're getting frustrated, I know a common one that a lot of adolescent dog owners struggle with is greeting other people. And that's huge because we look at, okay, our dog just greeted somebody really badly, right? They jumped on them, they goosed them, they did something, right? One of the dogs I'm working with, especially with me because I'm overexciting and he like loves me to death. He has a huge habit of mouthing me. Now he's got the most gentle mouth in the world, and I'm not really annoyed if he mouths me. However, it's a clear indicator that he's overexcited in that moment, and I want to get that excitement level down. But so when something like that tends to happen, we start to beat ourselves up and we want to fix it. We want to just hit our end goal in that situation. But that's where we try to hit it too hard and don't keep it feeling like play, right? That will really stall us faster than anything. And that's why greetings become so challenging because we're working generally with either a dog that is fearful to greet or a dog that is way overexcited to greet. And both make greetings go badly if we don't set it up for success to begin with. So, setting up small mini changes. So, when this dog that likes to mouth first runs in the training center and he mouths me every time he runs in, I have done things where I've taught dogs not to do it. He's not at a point yet where I'm focusing on that. I'll let him have my hand. Go ahead, mouth me to death. Get your excitement out. Then, after he's greeted me, I'm also preventing him from doing that to anyone else in the room in that moment, right? So once this person comes in and regains her calm from just getting in the doorway, then I can remove my body so that he can't mouth me, and she can get him reframed into the right mind frame to do the training. But at the moment, we're just letting it happen because he's too obnoxious, because he's coming in too overwhelmed and he can't control it. When he calms down, he has great control over it. So that is a really, really big one. Keeping that training fun in that situation so that it feels like play. And when he's less excited, then we can play and work to teach him not to mouth and that he has other options than mouthing. So this is our kind of mini intermission. And I know we've been here a while, so it's kind of late for an intermission. Um, and the people that are here are already familiar with this. But I just wanted to take a moment to say you don't have to figure this out alone. We have a Maps Monday membership available on Crazy to Calm for just $5 a month. That's open to both service dog people and pets can join that membership. But this involves a weekly Zoom where the focus is planning and helping you plan. So if you haven't checked out Maps Mondays yet, if you're in Patreon at a higher level in any of our other Patreon memberships, you automatically get access to Maps Mondays. But if you're not in Patreon, the $5 membership is the quickest and easiest way to get that support from all of the Crazy to Calm canine coaches and to actually work on your planning supports. So now we're going to switch things into kind of creating our 7-day plan that fits within your life. So this is where you want to have your paper or pencil handy or your keyboard ready to type into chat if you want to do it that way. Whatever is working for you. Um, if you're watching the replay in this situation, you may want to take a moment to make sure you've downloaded the 7-day planning template because then you can make your notes going through this section right in that planning template. And that can really help. So if you're here live and you don't have that planning template yet, don't worry about that. It's going to hit Patreon later today or tomorrow. So you will be able to download it and attribute it right to what you want to work on plan wise. So first one is identify one priority behavior. What is most important to you now? And I really need to do that one for Belle because she is one that likes to continually train, and I have not identified one priority for her in quite some time. Um, I think my priority for her would be more priority based for me and making sure that I'm taking the time, even on those days where I'm on the couch, even if that training is being done from the couch, that I'm spending 5 minutes actively doing some kind of training with her every day, which is not a huge commitment, but something that I need to do. So, I mean, that would be kind of my priority one in the moment. Um, we have a lot of little things that are in the middle of that she can kind of sort of do in the right situations, such as her take a bow, which is a fun trick, or her wave, again, another fun trick. But I want to really expand the situations that she can do that. So just getting out more um, is something there. Utilizing tasks, even when not needed, so that they can be helpful when things really flare, is a great one. And again, that's a priority more for the human, not the dog, but it leads to a better dog, right? Sometimes our priorities might involve us as the human staying on task, and I totally get that. Oh, yeah, it can be really hard when your tasks involve the shower when the dog doesn't necessarily like the shower, whether it's something that smells like the shower. I have now got Belle to the point where I can ask her to go retrieve my phone after my shower. But if I tried to do it before my shower and she saw me prepping for the shower and knew I was going to take the shower, she'd be more hesitant to go in the bathroom thinking that I was going to trick her into a bath day. So, all right. So priority behaviors are performing known tasks when asked. Totally. All right. So now that you have one behavior, we want to write it out in a sentence, kind of like a SMART goal. Not that you have to do this today, but if you remember SMART goals, they're specific in that it describes the actual behavior you want to work on. So it might be, Belle does not need to work on this, but we've been working at adding in more environmental cues for some of her leash cues so that I have to actually give her leash cues less. So a smart behavior might be I want her to be able to walk in a loose heel in a more distracted environment without me needing to give hand signals or verbal cues. So I want her to use some intelligence to it. I want her to decide what position is best for her a little bit more. So very specific in that I want her to take more responsibility for making sure that she's in the best position for the situation in the moment. A measurable is a way to, so in that way I'm going to measure that by me giving her less and less cues, needing to give her less guidance is how I would measure it. Um, Accountable is like in the time frame that I want this to achieve, and this is a bigger picture thing. So like I don't need to do this in the next week or 2 weeks. This is going to be a long-term goal over, all of the whole year kind of thing. And it's going to be through continued practice. And I mean, she's at that right age, being 2, going into the full adulthood. She hasn't quite hit the point that I can forget that she's there when we're in a service dog working mode. Like Azul was, I can pretty much forget that he's there and know that he's doing the right thing 99% of the time. And with Belle, not that I have to manage her a lot, I'm still managing her more than I want to be. So that's our goal, is that I have to manage her less and she just knows what's expected in more situations. Some of that is going to involve being in more situations more frequently. Um, and then realistic is the R, right? I'm struggling on that one. And then T for timely. So my goal is over the next year, I want her to be more self-accountable for knowing what needs to happen in specific environments when it comes to the loose leash walking and being able to change. She's really good if we do it in a training situation. She's really good if I do it as a demo for somebody else because then she's in training mind. But to keep that up longer term, like for a grocery shopping trip, she can't keep that focus quite long enough to know in all situations yet. She's getting better. So then break your long-term picture into 3 to 4 micro steps. So in my situation with my goal of increased leash manners, I'm going to kind of start by taking some notes, so even mental notes of, all right, which behaviors is she struggling with? So she's really good at knowing when to drop behind me in a follow and then how to pop back out into heel. She's really good at that. She's really good at getting close to me and doing her medical alert when I'm dizzy. So I'm not going to focus on either one of those behaviors in my micro steps because she's good at those. Where she struggles more is choosing when to switch sides, like when she may feel a distraction is too distracting and she chooses to switch sides. And where that's a struggle is because if I'm holding her forward momentum handle, she can't just change sides. She could ask me and I can let her change sides and grab the handle with my other hand, yes. But I want her to get better at that. So that's the knowing when it's appropriate to change sides and being no and learning for her learning the confidence that she knows when to do it, right? So that's one of the things that I'll focus on a little bit over the next year. The other one is where our loose leash kind of fails in stores sometimes is when I'm pushing a cart because she wants to be able to see around the cart, so she may not be as close as I want her to be. She's not scared of the cart. She's not worried about getting close to the cart. Sometimes we just take up more space than I want to be taking up because she's trying to be out to the side of the cart versus behind the cart or something like that. So I want her to learn that when is it okay to be out to the side of the cart and taking up more space, and when she needs to step more back behind the cart and it's not okay to take up more space. So those types of things too. Another big one is whenever I need to step up to a counter, whether that be a like a pharmacy counter or a help desk or a checkout line, I'm telling her where her best positioning is every single time, which she easily gets into when I tell her, but I want her to start deciding on her own what those best positions are. So those are going to be the probably the 3 things I work at most. Um, with a cart, when at a counter, and now I don't even remember what the other one I said was. But so I mean those are my micro steps in those situations. Those are the situations I'm going to focus on first. My baby steps. So choosing the right environments. I want to take a moment to spend a little bit of time here because this is one that we tend to struggle with. When we're writing out a training plan, we can look at like the environment we're working in right now, which might be at home or the training center. For me, I'm lucky enough to have a training center that is private to us sometimes with locked doors. um, but so when we're working on that and we have long-term goals of being able to do it, say in a busy grocery store at Christmas season, the Saturday before Christmas, huge, crazy distractions, right? It's easier to break down environments in the red light planning stage, right? So what that means is any environment that is really easy for you right now gets a green light, whether it's a green dot, a green check mark, or you just write the word green, or you write that environment. If you're doing this on a computer, you can highlight the text in green, right? So green light means these are easy, and when we're having a stressful week, we're going to practice in a green light area. Yellow lights are the ones that, are a little bit more challenging for some reason. Maybe it's a place where you're more likely to see more dogs. Maybe it's a place where there's more people. Belle has an issue with kids. So a yellow light area for us might be in the distance of a playground area where we can watch kids playing and still work on the behaviors around that at a safe distance where she's not over threshold. The red light area for me in that situation would be trying to do it right in the middle of the playground with kids playing all around us, right? It's the last places that you want to practice the behavior because it's the hardest. And so when we think of environments in that mind frame, when we're creating a training plan, highlighting at least 2 green lights, at least 2 yellow lights, and at least 2 red lights can be huge. And this is a place to be flexible because you may have 2 green lights, 1 yellow light, and 10 red lights. But slowly, as you practice, those red lights are going to start to transition. Some of those red lights will start to change into yellow lights that you can do in a medium distracting environment, the right time of day with the right reinforcement, and you put everything else together right. That's when you can do those, focus on those yellow light environments. So in the 7-day plan, it's going to try to help you work through that and deciding that. And if you're getting stuck, that's the perfect time to reach out into your community to say, I need some ideas of yellow light environments where we can do this training. Because that can really, really make your training go faster when you think of it in that frame. So, of course, in the 7-day plan, we have to pick the reinforcers that are going to work well. And especially when you're working on a new behavior, whether that be a service dog task or that be a basic behavior like heel, pay well. So Belle knows that when we're in um, a service dog work mode in a public space, she's only going to get a few treats here and there at this stage because that's where she's at level wise. She may need a reminder treat for heel, or I'm more likely to use a treat to help her de-stress after something weird with a child has happened, right? Like the Halloween time where the adult put on the witch hat and can send this 2-year-old running screaming at us with the adult screaming, "I'm going to get you," and the 2-year-old basically colliding with us as we walked past an aisle, right? That's a situation where I'm going to pay really, really well in some way. For Belle, it was food combined with lots of calm play and giving her permission to shake it off and do a little bit of focus stuff. And yeah, that was really crazy, and I get that. But she also knows when it comes to loose leash walking, if we have a bunch of young dogs that need a lot of reinforcement, I'm also going to pay really well. I might use a lower value reinforcement in that situation, but I'm going to deliver treats just as frequently as I want the people around me to deliver treats in that situation because A, I'm an example for them, but B, because Belle shouldn't have to sit there and watch, as treat motivated as she is, she should not have to sit there and watch all these puppies around us getting treats and her not get any just because she's better at it. So I'm going to pay well in that situation too. And she's learned that, and she knows that she can count on it when we're out and about with the younger dogs. But when we're out and about, just her and I, it's not going to happen. So pick your reinforcer based on what's happening around you. And this is a good way to look at that green light, yellow light, red light activity too. So you may need less reinforcement if you're going into the same store you go into all the time. And then when we walked into a store in Illinois, that was probably like 4 times the size of my grocery store. And it was Christmas Eve. And, the store was just packed. And yeah, so I paid Belle very well, very frequently throughout that activity. And I planned accordingly and made sure that I took some high value reinforcement with us. And I paid her for simple stuff. Um, any kind of task got paid. Any kind of long-term healing with us in tight situations where we had to walk through crowds got paid. So when the environment is harder, make sure you're paying more. And when the job at hand is harder, make sure you're paying more. Whatever that reinforcer may be. Um, I use a lot more than food too, but in those particular situations, food is what works best for Belle. So for Belle, I use food heavily. So along with the 7-day plan, we are going to take a look at what is best for you and your dog. Does after breakfast work best? Does a break in the middle of your day work best? Maybe it's just before dinner, maybe it's just after dinner. What time of day works best for you and your dog? And yeah, sometimes food is the best and only option. I am one that will gladly take a tug toy into a store and play tug with my dog in the middle of a store. But here's the reason that I will use tug in that situation for reinforcement, because I also train my dogs to do a quick, like 10-second tug with without raising their excitement level very high, right? And then it's dropped and the tug goes away and they know that. And I use this really heavily with Azul when he was an adolescent. For other dogs, like this golden retriever that just flies off the handle in excitement way too fast, tug would not work. Food calms him down and toys overexcite him. So your reinforcement does depend on the dog. But going back into our micro training routine, where can it fit? When I'm teaching a new client how to do hand targets, I say, sit your treats by something you do every day, whether that be the coffee pot where you fill your water bottle up. I don't care if you sit them by the toilet and practice hand targets every time you go to the bathroom. But by adding it into your routine in that way, it becomes a habit. So it reinforces your dog's habit of wanting to do it at that time of day. But it also becomes a habit for us, making us more willing to do it. So your micro training might be as short as 10 seconds or 30 seconds. It might be 2 minutes long, depending on the routine you're adding it into. Might be 3 minutes long, but it really shouldn't be longer than that. Most training sessions should not last more than 3 to 5 minutes. Otherwise, you're almost going too far too fast. The exception to that would be a shaping plan where you're starting with a very simple behavior in the beginning and building the behavior. So it might be a 10-minute shaping plan, but the criteria is changing rapidly all the way through. You're not doing it at the exact same level for the whole 10 minutes. And that's only with people that use shaping plans regularly so the dogs know how to advance and read the criteria change real fast. But that's another story. So we're going to take a moment to support for the support yourself section and just think, like, write down, whether it be in the chats or in your training plan, what is your support system like? Where's your community? Is it one or two people? Is it a Facebook group? Is it a Patreon chat group? I also do WhatsApp and Google Meets where I have different chat groups available.